At Fort Ravenwood Youth Military Academy, the training field shook every morning with the thunder of boots, orders, and shouting cadets. Among the sea of loud, eager teenagers stood Maya Trent, the smallest cadet in her class. Where others carried wide shoulders and loud confidence, Maya carried silence. She was calm, introverted, and often kept her hands folded behind her back, while others flexed and boasted. To most cadets, she looked like someone who simply didn't belong. The boys in her squad treated her like a running joke from day one. They mocked the way her oversized uniform sleeves swallowed her wrists, laughed when she struggled to lift the heavier practice gear, and whispered nicknames like featherweight when they thought she couldn't hear. Even during warm-ups, when Maya's breathing stayed steady and her posture was perfectly aligned, the others didn't notice. They only saw what they wanted to see: weakness. But Maya wasn't what she appeared. Every night after the academy lights went out, she trained alone in the dimly lit gym, throwing precise strikes, practicing controlled breathing, and repeating footwork patterns she learned from a place no one talked about. Her disciplined movements came from her mother, a once renowned combat instructor who had vanished overseas on a classified mission. Maya inherited more than her mother's quiet intensity. She inherited her technique. Still, she never showed it, because Maya wasn't there to impress anyone. She was there to prove something to herself. During drills, she moved quietly, observing, learning how her squad reacted, how they underestimated her, how they believed strength came from noise. Even her instructors, though polite, watched her with doubtful eyes. But one man saw differently: Commander Hall, a retired Special Forces operator. He noticed the way she planted her feet before lifting weights, the way her eyes studied every movement in hand-to-hand demonstrations, the way she never flinched when mocked to him. Maya was not fragile, she was contained, and contained strength was the most dangerous kind. While the squad continued mocking her, calling her the weak link, Commander Holly simply watched. He knew something they didn't. He recognized that the quietest person in the room often held the sharpest blade, and Maya was a blade no one expected. Her moment wasn't here yet, but it was coming. The Gauntlet was the Academy's most feared trial, a combat simulation designed to test teamwork, pressure control, and resilience. But for Maya, it became something else entirely: a public stage for the squad's cruelty. Instead of including her in strategy, the boys pushed her aside during planning, insisting she would slow them down. Their whispers grew louder, their smirks bolder, and Maya, still silent, simply observed. During warm-ups, the squad decided to make her the target of their latest lesson. 3 boys stepped forward first, circling her like they were hunting prey. A crowd gathered quickly. Students leaned over railings, some snickering, others raising their phones to record what they assumed would be her embarrassment. Maya stood in the center of the circle, arms loose, eyes calm, her breathing steady. The boys didn't hold back their taunts. "Come on, featherweight. Bet she cries before we even touch her. She's not built for this." One lunged, expecting her to stumble. Another moved behind her, mocking her with exaggerated martial arts poses. Maya didn't lift her hands. She didn't react. She simply kept that quiet, unreadable expression, as if she was waiting for something they couldn't understand. At the field's edge, Commander Halle watched silently, his jaw clenched, not in anger, but in anticipation. He could tell Maya wasn't frightened. She was calculating, studying. She wasn't refusing to fight out of fear. She was refusing because she wasn't ready to reveal what she could do. Yet the boys kept pushing, growing bolder with the crowd's laughter. The humiliation wasn't enough. They wanted to break her spirit. But Maya didn't crack. Her stillness wasn't weakness. It was control, a storm gathering behind calm eyes. That evening, long after the other cadets had left, Maya stayed behind in the empty gym. The lights were dim, the air smelled of rubber mats and sweat, and the silence felt heavier than usual. She sat alone on the floor, knees pulled to her chest, replaying the day's humiliation again and again. She didn't cry, Maya rarely did, but her clenched jaw revealed the storm inside her. Commander Halle entered quietly, not wanting to startle her. He had watched her for weeks, not the weak, fragile girl her squad assumed she was, but the disciplined fighter she tried to hide. He approached slowly, giving her space before speaking. "You know," he began gently, "I've only seen one other person breathe the way you do before a fight." Maya didn't respond, but her eyes lifted. "Your mother," Halle continued. The words hit her like a shockwave. Nobody at the academy ever mentioned her mother. Most didn't even know who she was. Maya always avoided talking about her, out of pain, not pride. Halle sat beside her, lowering his voice. "Before she disappeared on assignment, your mother trained some of the toughest operators we ever produced. She had a reputation that spread from unit to unit. They called her the Silent Storm. She could drop a squad before anyone understood what happened." Maya swallowed hard. She'd grown up watching her mother train, memorizing every stance, every pivot, every breath. But she never imagined anyone here knew that side of her life. "You move like her," Halle said softly. "Controlled, precise. You don't waste energy proving yourself. You wait for the right moment." Maya looked down at her bruised hands. "I don't want people to think I'm hiding behind her name," she whispered. Halle nodded. "Strength isn't inherited," he said. "It's chosen. And you've already made your choice quietly. Every single day." Something lit inside Maya, something fierce. Steady, unstoppable. That night, she trained alone until her arms trembled and her breath burned. She practiced the technique her mother had taught her since childhood, the one move she had never shown anyone at the academy, a move meant not for anger, but for ending a fight in one decisive moment. The next morning, the tension on the training field felt different, sharper, heavier. The boys in Maya's squad had decided the previous humiliation wasn't enough. They wanted to teach her a lesson, a final one. By the time Maya arrived, 10 of them were already gathered, whispering, grinning, planning something they thought would be hilarious. As she stepped onto the field, they closed in around her, forming a tight circle. Their shadows fell over her like a trap snapping shut. Students nearby paused their drills, sensing trouble. Some backed away. Others watched with sick curiosity. Maya stood in the center, hands at her sides, eyes steady. "Ready for round 2, featherweight?" One boy sneered. Another flicked her ear. A shove followed. Then someone kicked her shin, light but disrespectful, designed to provoke. Her notebook slipped from her hand and hit the dirt. A ripple of laughter rolled through the crowd. Maya didn't bend to pick it up. She didn't step back. She didn't raise her voice. She breathed, one slow, controlled breath. The same breath Commander Halle had once compared to her mother's before a demonstration that dropped an entire squad. Across the field, Halle watched without moving. Not because he didn't care, but because he knew this was Maya's moment. She wasn't in danger. She was deciding. The boys kept mocking, circling closer, growing bolder with every second of her silence. They believed she was frozen in fear. They believed she wouldn't fight back. They were wrong. Maya shifted her foot barely an inch. But Halle noticed. He straightened. What's she doing?" One boy muttered. Maya lifted her chin, eyes razor sharp. The ring of cadets faltered for the first time. She took her second breath. Then her third. And in the space between that breath and the next heartbeat, Maya moved. Her body exploded into motion, precise, fluid, controlled. The technique her mother taught her ignited like lightning. A leg sweep sent the nearest cadet crashing. A pivot throw flipped another. A palm strike stunned the third. Before the squad understood what was happening, the circle shattered. Laughter died. Shock swallowed the air. 10 boys hit the ground in seconds. Maya didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She simply stood in the center, finally seen for who she truly was. When the dust finally settled, the training field felt frozen in time. The boys who had mocked her, pushed her, and circled her with laughter now lay scattered across the ground, groaning, stunned, unable to comprehend how a girl they underestimated so deeply had dropped an entire squad in mere seconds. The crowd that once gathered to laugh at her humiliation now stood in a stunned semicircle, silent, breathless. Maya didn't stand in a victory pose. She simply breathed out, slow and calm, as if she had just finished a warm-up rather than a fight. Her eyes softened again, returning to the quiet girl everyone thought they knew, except now. The mask had been lifted. Commander Halle approached slowly, like someone walking toward a miracle they had witnessed once before. He didn't clap or shout praise. He simply looked at her the way a veteran looks at a rising legend. "You didn't become your mother today," he said quietly, just for her to hear. "You became yourself." The words cracked something open inside Maya, something she had carried for years, the fear of living in her mother's shadow, the fear of being seen as weak, the fear of being forgotten. Now for the first time, she wasn't running from anything. She was stepping into who she truly was. By evening, the whispers spread through every hallway, every dorm, every training group. "Did you hear about Maya Trent? That small girl? She dropped 10 guys in 10 seconds. Don't underestimate her strength. One move is all it takes." The squad she defeated approached her the next day, not with smirks, but with lowered eyes and humbled voices. They apologized, some stumbling over their words, others unable to meet her gaze. Maya didn't gloat or let them suffer. She simply nodded, accepting their apologies with the quiet dignity that defined her. From that day onward, whenever new cadets laughed at her size or her silence, the older ones would shake their heads and whisper, "Don't mock her strength. She's the girl who dropped a squad before anyone even blinked." Maya Trent had become more than a quiet cadet. She had become a warning and a legend in making.